It sounds simple. For 10 years I've been lonely, and I got married. I'm associated pastor of a church. 400 people surround me. I look for minutes to be lonely now.
As we suffer and as we spend time, extended periods of time in which we are lonely, oftentimes there are great times of prayer in our own lives, but it may seem like the windows of heaven are closed to our prayers. Was there a time in that extended period of time of loneliness and suffering where you just felt like God wasn't hearing your prayers? And what helped you through that?
I never think, or I don't complain, or I don't use these phrases that God didn't hear my prayers, but it seemed like He was not being with me. He was not comforting with me, and I knew comforting me, but I knew it was a purpose for me. I didn't know at that time what was the purpose, but after that I found it. So it takes patience to go through the loneliness.
What do you think was the key that helped you through that time?
Faith is everything. Faith moved by love.
And one thing that I can testify to, Vladimir, is I have seen you become more like Jesus.
Thank you.
Over the years.
Thank you.
You love, ever since I met you, you love Jesus and had a fire burning in your heart for Jesus.
Amen.
That's been there for all these years. But I see a Christlikeness, and that I think God has done in your life. Boy, what goodness that God bestows upon us. When we met, and He gave us just the opportunity to go to some places.
He did.
We were talking about Yakutsk when we went there, and they had a heat wave. It was in January. This was in Siberia. They had a heat wave come through, and it warmed up to 50 below zero.
Warmed up.
So, but had a great time preaching there, and I remember you witnessing on that plane, and the stewardess came out. I also remember Clifton Jansky singing.
Yes.
And I remember his CD freezing up inside.
Clifton wanted to get somewhere orange juice. You know how you are. He wanted orange juice, and so I invited him to the market. And of course it was covered because it was winter. And I asked him to take his guitar, went to buy some orange juice. And he said, "Why do you want me to take my guitar?" I said, "You will see." Went to the market. So I witnessed to the people. Clifton sang songs, and everybody on the market received Jesus. They gave us orange juice free.
I need to bring Clifton with me.
We introduced them to Jesus. They gave us orange juice.
You guys meet so many different people around the world, and I think people in general have some similarities. When we talk about renewal and God renewing our hearts, what do you think needs to happen in a person's heart so that they have that genuine love for people? I hear these stories, and I'm amazed at God's how God has gifted each one of you to have that burden for a person's soul. But what about someone who out there is saying, I just don't know if I love people enough to be moved to share my faith?
I think if we are honest with ourselves, to ourselves, if we know who we are, and we can be honest with ourselves only when we know who God is. So then we will see the hand of Jesus stretched to us, and then we can stretch our hand to anybody else who is in the same condition. So you asked the question about the heart, our heart, and the attitude of our heart. I think if we find ourselves honest, and people see that, even the liars of this world, as we say, and we used to be all like that.
That's right.
And when all the people who try to deceive and try to say something which is not true, when they see an honest person, they are affected, they're impressed. Many of them, I believe, want to be changed. And if you witness to somebody, if you tell them that honesty is not a requirement of a morality of American society, of a Russian society, it's a requirement of God Himself, now that's when we open up, and then when we can repent. So that's where everything starts.
I've noticed, I've developed messages, a series of evangelistic messages where I share what Christ has done in my life with other people. But one of the things that I did, it was when I was in Romania, before I actually came to Moldova, during the days of communism. But I began to notice there were certain needs that the Romanians had that were identical to the needs that Americans had.
That's true.
And so I started developing messages. For instance, what's going to happen when I die? people are afraid of death. It doesn't matter whether you're Russian, Romanian, American, Egyptian, or African. It really doesn't matter. People are afraid of death. I noticed that people
That's
are
true.
afraid of rejection.
That's true.
They're afraid that people are going to. They want to be liked. They want to be loved. They want someone to care for them. And so I started developing messages that I call common heart messages that cross every cultural and linguistic barrier. And those are the basic human heart needs that we all have. And I remember preaching in Egypt, and I preached a message that I'd actually developed first time for young people in America. Now, young secular. I preached in Egypt, and many responded. And after the response, one of the pastors came up to me and said, "This is it. This is it." I said, "This is what?" He says, "This is the message for Egypt." Here was a message I developed for American young people, and it was the same one that he was saying for Egypt.
Beautiful.
So I think we need to realize hearts of things. Now, there are cultural differences.
Of course.
But and there are things we need to take into consideration. But the basic attitude of the human heart is the same.
Yes.
People are lost, empty, without God. I remember in Russia, I don't know if you were with me in Moscow. No, I think it was the first time we were going to Norilsk. We were in Moscow. My wife and I stayed in the home of a lady who was a university professor in Moscow. And so, it was beginning of the bed and breakfast type thing. And so we stayed there. And she says, "What are you going to be doing in Norilsk?" And I told her, I said, "I'm going to be speaking." And what are you going to speak about? I said, "Purpose in life." And I think she was pouring water, and she set down
That's what she's
jar.
been thinking all her life.
She said, "Oh, can I go with you? I need to hear this. I don't have any purpose." She said, "Here's a professor. I don't have any purpose."
But
in my
see,
life."
she was honest with you.
Yeah.
She just said you just stopped her life probably at that time because she's been looking for that all her life.
Yes, yes.
So
Love.
there seems to be, I think, a common thread there in what y'all are saying, that unless I'm willing to be honest about who I really am and my own deficiencies,
And
I'm not going to have a love for other
and-
people
That's
because I'm
right.
not going to see their deficiencies.
And